Ladies and gentlemen, this is Paul Chibe. He's the CEO of Pabst Brewing Company, based in San Antonio, Texas, which is where I live.
Yeah, a little bit warm.
Yeah, a little bit warm. It's funny because we both live in San Antonio, but I see you more on the road than,
Yeah, that's true. That is
Now,
I think we were in Willie's Ice House sharing tater tots.
That's right.
Last time we were together.
Yeah, and there was like a homeless guy trying to attack us. Good times. All right, so, one of the things, you come from Ferraro, and you also were the CMO at Anheuser-Busch. When you worked at AB, you didn't like me, did you?
I don't know about that.
I mean, you were kind of mean to me.
Maybe once in a while.
Yeah, I remember you looking at the PR person, you're like, why are we even here? You know what, old times.
I like keeping my secrets.
Okay, good. Well, it's been a wild year, and the public companies have been speaking about it, but you're a private company. So tell us your experience. How did Pabst come out? How did your year end?
Well, 2023 was a very good year for us. You shared the IRI numbers, Circana numbers, up 7.7. Nielsen, it's up 8.6. So we'll split the difference. We're up 8%. We started. I can say that the story about 2023 actually started in the summer of 22.
All right.
That's when a lot of the corrective interventions that we started to make in the Pabst business started to take effect. And then by the time the April event happened, then the kind of really put a wind behind the business, and we ended up having a very, very good year. PBR was up about 13%, 12.8% in Nielsen. We had brands like Rainier up 13%, Old Style up 10%, Lone Star up 7%, Lone Star Light up 33%. So as a general rule, the portfolio performed very, very well.
When you say corrective intervention in 22, what does that mean?
A couple of things. So one of the things I firmly believe in is experience matters. I had made a bunch of changes to the organization, and one of the things that I did was I brought in someone to run our sales organization, Keith Diggs, 30 years experience in the beer business. I brought in a new CFO. He's a Heineken guy, 25 years of experience. I promoted some folks from XMC, XAB to run our supply organization. So I put the right organization in place to drive the agenda that we needed to execute on the fundamentals.
Right.
So, one of the things I will say is that a lot of this isn't rocket science. I don't want to portray like there's a lot of genius there. It's about executing on the fundamentals, making sure you're pack price competitive, making sure you're distributed where you should be distributed, making sure you're getting your ad activity, and making sure that your marketing is compelling. And you do those things, generally good things will happen. We feel like we were doing those things, and we started to see improvement in the business, and then things picked up, obviously, starting in April.
Right. So basically, you just got rid of Gen Z and hired a bunch of old people. So
no, I don't know about that.
Just kidding.
We need everybody.
I love Gen Z, but hey, old people have their place, right? So when we talked to you last summer, PBR was up double digits. You had estimated at the time that about 1/3 of that growth was probably coming from the Bud Light issue. What about now? Has that changed?
Yeah, it's about the same. We do SOV analysis both using the Circana tool and the Nielsen tool, and it's held up. And if people want to kind of say, well, that doesn't make sense, you have to get into the finer detail about geographically how are we composed. Mm-hmm. And where my business is stronger is generally areas in the U.S. where the AB portfolio is less developed. Maybe an exception might be Lone Star Light, definitely probably benefited more than the rest of my portfolio because of its presence in Texas, and ABI has a very developed business in Texas. But most of the other geographies, other competitors are more developed.
Right, like the Pacific Northwest, where AB, I don't even know they sell beer there anymore.
They're up there, but it's MC is more prevalent.
Right. Well, let's talk about Lone Star, because spoiler alert, I live in Texas, and I have a long history with Lone Star, and I'm glad to see the brand's hanging in there, and it's selling very well, and they're selling out quickly. To what extent did supply issues hamper you last summer?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there were several of our businesses that were challenged over the summer period. Yeah. But a lot of it, I have a ton of respect for our supply partners. At that point in time, MC was our primary supply partner. And the timing of when the AB event happened left one, and you're already ramping up for the summer. You're already at a point where a lot of the lines are oversold. So it became a challenge for them, challenge for us. And I would say that, of my businesses, Lone Star suffered, Rainier suffered, and then some of my brands that are more dependent on single site. So PBR fared the best. Well, it pulls from 4 different breweries. Brands like Lone Star that are single sourced have more challenges.
Fort Worth.
Yeah. So on an overall basis, I would say we did very well. I always could have asked for more, but that wasn't in the cards given timing and just being realistic about what happened and the beer that would have been available in the heavy season.
Right. And, no shade on Molson Coors, because nobody could have predicted that, and ramping up like that there's only so many lines.
Right.
And especially when everything's going to cans and single serve, it exacerbates that issue. So moving on to your F&B business, you told us at the end of last year that building out the Jack Daniel's Country Cocktail line would be a priority. And how did you come out on that goal?
This year, on a 52-week basis, we were up, I think, 13-14%. But it slowed down a bit, but that was understood because we're cycling some innovation and distribution build. And we're trying to do things with our F&B portfolio in a disciplined way. I think one of the challenges that have kind of hurt our industry is that people are throwing stuff out there so quickly that you're not stabilizing your user base, you're not making sure that you're getting to a stable place then to build your next innovation. And so we're trying to do things in a disciplined way, make sure you're stabilizing that base, the brand's in growth, then we're gonna innovate on top of it versus, you still have a unstable base and you're throwing the next thing out and all you're doing is swapping that trial volume onto the next thing. You've never got anywhere. I think that is something that we need to be, as an industry, and Pabst absolutely had to be more disciplined in its approach to innovation.
Right. I mean, I think Mary made that clear that chasing flavors is not the way to go. And honestly, I mean, I'm old enough to remember wine coolers, and it was always flavor driven. Every year would be a new flavor, and then it would crater. So it was always a 2-year cycle with flavors, and that, like Mary indicated, that category tends to lend itself to flavor fatigue. But you've got that Jack Daniel's mark on there, and it's at a right price point. Jack Daniel's, obviously they've come out with Jack and Coke, which is spirit based. Do you think that's affected your business?
We were monitoring it very closely because they're our JV partner, and we have a great relationship. We work really well together, and that was something that we wanted to make sure is that their business was incremental, and I actually anticipated more cannibalization than actually happened. Right. And I think a lot of it comes from, you're selling 4-packs at a certain price point versus I'm selling variety pack and 6-packs at a different price point. So I think there's a natural insulation there that protected the Jack Daniel's Country Cocktails business from the activity of Brown-Forman. And Brown-Forman did a great job with their Coca-Cola partner on the launch of Jack and Coke. It's good to see my partner's successful, but we're doing quite well on our business.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a different value proposition.
Correct.
It's a totally different price point and probably different consumer as well in occasion. So clearly you're open to help build a non-beer brand in the beer space, and with the Brown-Forman relationship. What about a non-alc brand? What's going on there? Anything?
Well, let me say that, like everyone, there's an interest in non-alc, and I'm going to say both in what would be perceived to be the traditional beer non-alc in that non-alc business, but also the non-alc outside of beer. And I think one of the things that drives that interest, and you see this among the publicly traded companies, is when you look at the reward on a multiple basis. You look at, let's say, a Celsius, or you look at some of these other hydration products or other brands that are coming along. The multiple that's given to those products is a lot greater than what's given to the alcohol segment, and that I'll comment on at another point. But that just drives people in terms of their innovation agenda. Me and my management team are rewarded on value creation. There's a lot of opportunity for value creation in some of these segments.
And really, you see a lot of people come into the industry that may not understand that in the United States, it's all about your distribution network. And like you see Asahi and Kirin, they're buying a distribution setup. And especially when you see Monster coming in, they're buying the distribution setup, and you have a distribution setup. So it does make sense to utilize that, right?
Absolutely. The three-tier system and our wholesaler partners give you an advantage in the route to market that's unmatched because of the coverage model. Yeah. And when you look at the opportunity in beverage, these are high-frequency businesses that need to be tended to in store more frequently. You need to have a partner like that. And those are very CapEx people, they're asset-intensive businesses. Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense if you're in this segment to use what is best in class, I think, in the world, which is our wholesaler partner network.
Right. Well, we'll take some questions from the audience. If you'd like to pass them to these middle aisles, we'll get her done. Now you come from this Ferrero. What? I know they make Nutella, but what's the other big candies that they?
They're depending on who you talk to, because it's privately held, it's either the second biggest chocolate company in the world or the third. So it owns in the United States, for example, Butterfinger, Baby Ruth. We acquired that from the Nestle Corporation. We have Ferrero Rocher, Nutella, Tic Tac.
Okay.
People don't realize Tic Tac was started by an Italian company.
I did not. Yeah.
So
Butterfinger's just fantastic. So, I remember, actually it was at Willie's when that homeless guy accosted us. You were telling me something that was really funny about how confectionery does things better than the beer industry as far as copycat stuff. Can you relay that?
Well, I think one of the things that we talked about a lot in the confectionery industry was like we had this concept called USP, unique selling proposition. And a lot of it had to do with the context of the IP that went around the construction of a brand. And the point being is that if you compare the industries, I've been lucky to work in candy and beer my whole career. So I've been, that's why you see a little more pounds on me than I probably should.
It's amazing. You look as good as you do, honestly.
Right. The thing that insulates the confectionery business is that, let's say, for example, one of the brands that I had at my last company was 100 Grand. Well, the line to make 100 Grand bar was $60 million to put the new line in. And it had to happen in a certain sequence. So it wasn't like I could take the 100 Grand bar and make something else.
Right.
That's what it does. And so you were insulated from an IP standpoint from competition. Bev-Elk's a bit different. You use the same assets to make the same type of liquids. So you don't have that asset insulation to the category. Right. I also think that there's a bit of more discipline if I'm candid, I didn't have a desire at Ferrero to make a ripoff of Snickers, and call it Bickers. I'm not going to launch Bickers
Right.
while I'm there. So it's a different context, driven a lot by industrial footprint, CapEx, and some of the industry leadership.
Right. Yeah. Discipline is not something that the beer industry is known for, as far as, just, I think people have been saying we've been over-skewed ever since I've been in the business, and it's only gotten worse. So I think it's fair to say we're over-skewed. Now we have a question from the audience. How does your business change when you bring production from Molson Coors in-house?
Well, I can say technically we're bringing it to an affiliated company. It's not technically in-house. I think the thing first off is that, MC is a respected brewer. They've done a good job on our brands. The quality is there. But with the other entity, City Brewing, we're going to have additional flexibility and we'll have a bit more control. But there's pros and cons on both sides, so I don't want to paint an image that it's a panacea. Yeah. But we'll have flexibility, and I think we'll have an ability to make investments where investments can happen, so that we can have the quality liquid where we need it. And right. I think that you can accomplish it both with a brewery partner like MC or with another partner like City. You see that happening in the industry. So that's how I would characterize it.
Do you foresee any disruption when that change happens? It seems, or will
I hope not, because then that means that my team and I aren't doing a good job. Just to put it in perspective, over the transition period, we will be moving 45 million cases from MC to City.
Right.
And and it means tens of thousands of SKU brewery pair wholesaler pairs. And so far so good. What we've been intending to do and have been doing is over communicate, over plan. We've been working well with both the MC team and the City team in terms of developing the transitions and making sure that we're providing a seamless experience for our wholesaler, because that's our test. Yeah. We want our wholesaler and our retailers to kind of have a seamless experience. They may deal with an invoice from one place to the next, or however it will work, but we want it to be a very seamless, painless kind of something that happens in the background.
Right. And so you're switching breweries, but you also have built or moved into a new headquarters. How's that? Have you moved already?
Yeah, we moved in December. And the context is that when you look at the history of Pabst Brewing has not been in a single site for over 50 years. Right. So it had been in Chicago, it had been in LA, and even then, when in these different offices, there was an office in Dallas, office in San Antonio. So there was never this opportunity to create a unified organization. And then even when it moved to San Antonio, the company was sitting in 2 sites.
Right.
So this was an opportunity to put the team in a world-class location that is a pride for people to work in. We want people to be proud of the space that they're in. We want it to be an environment that energizes our people and makes them work well and be proud of who we are as a company. And we'll let you come and visit hopefully soon, and you'll see with your own eyes the great place that we built for the team at Pabst.
Well, yeah, be careful about your invitations.
We have a lot of beer. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, I've seen that building on Broadway, and it's a great building. And you mentioned that you're going to have you're putting up signage, Lone Star and Pabst on.
Yeah, it's already up.
Oh, it's already up. Okay,
yeah.
I'll take a look at it. That's cool. And we'll actually we're going to haul our equipment and film a podcast there in a month or two. So, if you're not listening to Beer Net Radio, you better get on. Thank you. Okay, got a couple of questions. How confident are you that you will stay in stock in 2024? I think you kind of just answered that about the transition, forecasting, brewing, shipping. I mean, it's going to be a project, right?
No, absolutely. But I have confidence in the team. I have a confidence in our partners. I think we'll be in a very good position. And I think too, you got to remember, in 2023, no one knew what was going to happen.
Right.
Right now, we know kind of where the baseline is.
Right.
Working with both partners. So I think we know a lot more than we did. We know where the business is. I think we'll be in a much better supply environment.
I mean, what if you had changed this last year? That would have been disastrous.
Well, we began the change.
Oh, okay.
But in some instances, because we began the change, we were able to get additional liquid we were not able to get.
Oh, okay.
So it did help us.
Right. Will you build up inventories a little bit to soften it? Just an idea for you if you hadn't thought of it.
Yeah. As much as our wholesalers will allow, they have balance sheets to manage too.
Yeah, they have bankers. Okay, so how does your business change when you bring? Oh, okay. We have 3 questions. They're all the same, but I do appreciate them. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything that I haven't asked that you would like to address?
You were asking a bit about the confectionery industry versus the beer business, and I think, when we were chatting the other day, you were asking me, well, what was a insight or a learning that I would bring from the confectionery industry? I sat as vice chairman of the industry association for many years, and I was chairman of the industry association, which would be kind of the equivalent of the BI and the BA together if that was how we had it. Right. I would say the one thing that was much more a sense was that rising tides raise all ships. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I listen to the analyst calls and I get the sense of this conversation around a zero-sum game. And I don't accept that. I think that there's no reason why this industry can't be healthy, why we can't grow, why the megatrends, why we can't beat the megatrends or leverage the megatrends to have a healthier beer business. And one of the things that, there's a movement to lower alcohol, there's a movement against carbs, a movement against sugar. Those are all things that hurt my other industry, not the alcohol piece.
Yeah.
But when I see, 95 calorie beer with 3 grams of carbs and 4.2 ABV, it doesn't feel right that we're not winning.
Right.
And I think there's a big opportunity for us to kind of accept that we could grow it, or kind of resist this notion we can't grow it. If we don't believe we can grow it, we're not going to grow it. So it starts with us, and we have to believe it to make it happen.
How do we do that? I mean, you're right. Beer, there's nothing heavily caloric, even in craft beer. I mean, when you compare it to a chocolate bar. But I mean, what is that? What are we going to do? We need answers, Paul.
I don't know. I think people want to watch a football game.
Okay. Oh, wow.
I gotta be here all night.
And everybody's clapping. I want to say that I spent the extra $1,500 to have a TV rolled out there. So,
but here's what I will say. I would say that it's always in vogue to focus on the core.
Yeah.
And I would just provoke folks to, again, I like to speak highly of the other members in the industry. It's not a coincidence that the business that is most healthy in our industry just happens to be the one that was most focused on the core the last 10 years.
You know what, spirits?
No, Constellation.
Oh, exactly, yeah. I mean, they don't chase, Corona Seltzer, but yeah, they were very under-skewed for how much volume they should. I think that's kind of, it's funny, when we have these summits, there's always a theme that emerges that we don't really anticipate, and I think right now, the theme that seems to be emerging is focus on the core. So, well, thank you so much, and you can have that beer. All right. Okay. I won't keep you long. We do have a reception. Oh, here's my phone. and it's on the South Point lawn, which is just that way. It's a little courtyard. It's kind of cold, so we're gonna stay off the beach today. But I would like to really thank our sponsors that help us put on really, I think, high quality receptions. Again, the TV, if you will. And it's Nielsen IQ, McDermott, Will and Emery, and Encompass. Thank you guys. And also I want to point out that Tagify is a sponsor. They sponsored the lanyards. They're supposed to be branded, but they didn't get here. So thank you, Tagify. And just remember that your lanyard was, just think about Tagify when you look at it. All right, thanks guys. That way is